All right, Pot of Gold, welcome back. I'm Brett. I'm here with Mike Grant, the intern behind the glass, running the boards with the cool graphics and everything else. I just got into the quote unquote studio, maybe the virtual studio, if you want to call it, 3 minutes ago. Mike and I already argued once, and so
Yeah,
I
you're
think we
wrong,
should.
dude. You are
We'll see.
wrong.
We will see.
I
We
had to
will
step
see.
between them.
Look, there's already some people in the live chat. We appreciate y'all. Hit us up on Twitter at potofgold at gmail.com, patreon.com/gold, at Gold Mike, at Grant the Intern. You can find them if you really want to, even though you don't want to, but you can. It was a weird morning. We woke up this morning and we discussed if we were going to podcast tonight, and we kind of decided to do it tomorrow. And then about 10 minutes later, some news dropped that Myles Brennan was retiring, not in the portal, not looking at other options, retiring.
Yeah, as we're saying this, I literally just itched my eye and my left contact popped out. So this
You
might
want
be
me
a
to
little
filibuster a little
no,
more?
it might be a little fuzzy. I don't need to see to say this, but I do want to give a little credit to this Andrew cat. Andy Reed 7 says, "Can we stop with the chat?" I volunteer Andy to be the keeper of the chat. If you want to be the fan that's in the chat, kind of keeping order amongst the crowd, Andy, I think you're that guy.
Look,
So let's put
here's the
that out
thing.
there.
I think the chat is necessary. I think we all like to interact with the chat. I think you and I should pay less attention to the chat and let Grant take control. And when I say that, I mean me.
Yeah. I think the issue comes into play is like our flow gets interrupted, and I think the
I
fans are
agree.
starting to feel it.
We're
So
well, we're
let's just
starting
let
to
the chat let's let the
we're
chat be its own
finally.
entity, you
I
know?
know that didn't sound like it, but we're finally kind of catching a vibe. We're figuring out our like online little back and forth here, and I think it's way better than the first one we did. It sucks. One of the first ones we did was the LSU season preview, but pay no mind. Look, guys, the season is coming. Like football is
Yeah.
almost here. There's been a huge jump in numbers. The LSU season preview, as usual, like it's just double what a normal episode is, which is awesome. But we want to keep some of these guys. So like hit subscribe, hit the whatever, tell your friend, rate and review, like all that shit helps going into the season. And I'm done ranting on it.
Myles Brennan retires. It's pretty wild. It was definitely a crazy morning. There is like word out there that Jordy, the guy that leaked it immediately, is in a little
Yeah.
bit of a pickle now with the staff. Because when they said from the get-go, guys, no tweeting about live practice until after it's over. Like that, we're very stern on that. Apparently, there's some bad vibes right now because of the leak from early this morning
Well,
where it was
is that worth it?
I mean, no, I don't think it is
I
because
agree.
everybody was going to have that story. It's not like you're running home to the press machine and you got to, make sure that you release it before everybody else. It's like, guys, I don't remember that. Like, I know Jordy was the one that did that, but like the majority of people don't know it was Jordy, but he wanted that kind of credit. So I don't know, kind of weird. I'm not taking a shot at Jordy. It's just kind of like,
No,
guys,
but
like
yeah,
there's rules
you're
around here. This is not the Panamsky world where everything's
yeah.
out in the open.
It feels like your bread and butter is these interviews with the staff and everything, which are awesome. I really like. I don't get much into the rest of the show, honestly. I really like the interviews, and that kind of puts you in a pickle. I agree. I
Absolutely.
honestly, man, like it's been a long couple weeks, and I was just super busy with work, and I was mostly like you guys were keeping me updated in the morning about what was happening, so I didn't even know it was Jordy. Like I saw it was Christian Garrick or whatever, the WWL guy.
Garrick jumped in. I mean,
Who
everybody started
also
jumping in
reported
after.
who also reported that Daniels was a starter, right?
He was the one for WWL that came out and said that they have named Daniels the starter. Now, I know a lot of people went back and forth kind of trying to discredit that because today the snaps were distributed evenly between Nussmeier and Daniels. But then word started getting out. I've heard through some other people that there was a discussion yesterday during the Top Golf situation that the team went, they did Top Golf, and Myles actually informed everybody of the decision. And he's, very loved by the team, and the coaches appreciated it. But apparently it was known yesterday. And I think if you're kind of putting two and two together, Keyshawn Butte putting out that tweet or that picture of him and Jaden Daniels yesterday at Top Golf together. just kind of like given the whole like let's ride, whatever the case may be. You could assume that they said, okay, Daniels is number one moving forward this week, and Nussmeier is going to take the number two reign, and then obviously Walker Howard is sitting there at 3. Where I don't think there's a lot of different angles to go here. Like we'll obviously get very deep into remembering Myles Brennan because it's such a it's not dead, but like I mean, I feel like this kid was recruited by Gary Crowton. Like he has been here forever. But there's just something he needs his piece. We're going to get to Brennan. But as far as like the quarterback competition between Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, I think I do want to say I think this ankle injury situation, like that's how tight this race was, where the second you give anyone an inch, it's over. And I remember thinking a couple days ago when I saw that, that scrimmage, Nussmeier did not get a chance to go because he had someone stepped on his ankle. I was like, well, it's over. Like I really believe like they wanted this thing done as soon as possible. And it was so close between Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels that every rep, just like you said in the group me earlier, every rep is like a season worth of reps here. Like you have to be able to go full bore. And Jaden Daniels apparently is showing out right now. He's a guy that brings such a different dynamic to this offense that LSU fans are truly not used to. We do not know what a true dual threat quarterback really is like in a solid system with a coaching staff that puts it in place. This kid is a true dual threat. He can fly, but he can also throw the football. There's been reports that he has excelled since spring practice. There's
gotta love those.
That all he has been missing is really a couple of technical fundamental deals with his throwing mechanics that Brian Kelly really wanted Sloan and Denbrock to start tweaking. And apparently he has made those changes and he's looking good right now. So I still believe Nussmeier at any point could be the guy, but we're at a point in the fall camp where this playbook needs to now expand. Like we were putting together packages for each of these quarterbacks to see who could be the best within their own system. They named it to be Jaden, apparently. So now it's time to move forward with preparing this team for Florida State.
Yeah. Kind of leading into fall camp, you thought Nussmeier maybe had the leg up. And as it just kept going, you just had to think that Daniel's ability to make plays with his feet, if he could prove to be a passer, which early in his career he was, and then the second season he kind of threw some interceptions and had a down season. So it's not like this is a Russell Shepard situation where we haven't really seen him throw or anything. Like this guy is a good enough quarterback to be a quarterback. And then to bring the dynamic of the feet, you just have to think it leads there. And I don't know, I guess we can just kind of get into a little bit of the Myles Brennan timeline here and discuss it because, yeah, it seems like Daniels is going to be the guy who takes the first snaps of the Florida State game. I think Nuss has a chance to still compete in practice and get opportunities in games, but it does feel like that's where it is. And it may be not fair because obviously Nuss had the ankle injury, but I think the dominoes started to fall for everyone when there was obviously reports that Myles Brennan maybe wasn't getting the most of the reps, and here comes the injury to Nuss's ankle, and Brennan gets like 0 reps. So it was like
the writing was on the wall.
I think everyone kind of realized at that point that it was going to be Myles Brennan was most likely going to have a clipboard and how that was going to play out. And I think I don't want to speak for you. I thought it was going to be a transfer portal. Let's try to compete at Southern Miss and have one little hurrah, try to put a little film out there and go to the NFL draft. And it comes out that it's just it's a retirement.
How do you feel about that?
It's interesting.
Like,
I mean,
like
I have so many.
Do you have that like, damn, this dude just quit again type of mentality? Like, what?
I don't want to say quit. Like, I think you put in the group me. I don't blame him for not wanting to be the third string quarterback. Like, I think that's fair. I think that it's possible. Like, I don't know. It sucks. It's like if you were such a leader, it feels like maybe you were going to be there with your guys. But I also understand the fact of like, man, I gave it my best shot. I can see, the coaches can see I am not good enough to be the quarterback here. I think it's time for me. It's the old Enterprise quote. I think it's time for me to go pro in something other than sports. And I respect it. I respect it. Good
I
for you.
I was surprised by it
I was
because
too.
I never thought Myles Brennan had a shot at starting. And that's why I was surprised, is because I really thought
He
that if
knew
he
his
was,
role.
yeah, I really thought he knew that, damn, I did pull myself out of the portal, but now they got Jaden Daniels coming in right after I did that. Nussmeier had a hell of a spring. He's getting all this hype. I really don't have it going for me here, but I am a good leader. I am a guy that is a staple of this program right now. And I am quality depth. As like shitty as that sounds, it's almost as if like I, you have to, like, if you're going to stick around this long, you had to accept those terms. Apparently
Right.
that's not what was going on in his head. He really thought like, this is mine to lose and I've got a lot of stiff competition, but I'm the guy. I never thought that as a fan. And I thought that Brian Kelly had
Well,
kind of pieced together a really cool situation where you've got some competition between two guys with Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, a guy that can use his feet, Nussmeier, a guy who's developing. And then if all else fails, you have a very experienced backup, a leader of the program with Myles Brennan to come in if anything goes wrong. I mean, that's a great scenario to have. Apparently, that wasn't really the situation. So him bailing a couple weeks before the opener, it's a very strange situation. It's like
yeah.
he obviously was told something different and he's just ready to roll. The other side of the coin
Well,
is
hold on, because I think we need to backtrack a little bit on that, because I think that a lot of people thought that Myles Brennan had a good chance to start when it was announced that Myles Brennan was coming back to LSU or not leaving LSU, however you want to say it.
right. But when
I think the
Jaden came
Jaden
in,
Daniels thing throws a wrench in it, but I to be fair, I listened to some of those old interviews today that he did when he signed, and he did say that like Brian Kelly told him it was an opportunity to take the starting job. And
no,
so I agree
no,
with
I
you.
understand that. That's what he thought. But at this point in
Yeah.
time, right now, a couple weeks before the season, I'm surprised that he didn't just understand like I'm quality depth and I'm going to be part of this program and we're going to see this change through. That was surprising to me that he would leave. Now, like I was saying, the other side of it, I can't imagine the emotional toll
Yeah.
of being in a program for 6 years, going through everything Myles Brennan, the teasing of
Almost being
it's
the
now
guy a million
mine.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, back and forth, back and forth. He's exhausted. He has to just be like, dude, I'm done waking up at 4 in the morning to like get my body ready,
Yeah.
which
It's
let's
fair.
put on 1,000 pounds just so I can perform at a quarterback position in the SEC and prepare myself for something for the 6th year in a row now is not going to be mine. I get that perspective, and he's older than everybody on the team. He's engaged, he's graduated, like he's done with school. Like, what are you doing here? Type of mindset. And I think he kind of woke up with some of that clarity, probably that it's time for me to move on. And I should have done this a few weeks ago. I should have done this in the summer, whatever the case may be. But it didn't work out that way, and I'm heading out. It is a little strange, but everything happens for a reason, dude. You look at the Myles Brennan situation. He comes in and fights all the odds, man. Like of all people to transfer in, Joe Burrow comes in,
Yeah.
like of all people. He finally gets his chance. He puts up some decent numbers, some great numbers actually. And he has an injury where, their doctors don't know what to call it. I mean, he falls tripping over his flip flop and he's out again. There's so many different situations. He finally gets roped back in by Brian Kelly. And then all of a sudden, Jade Daniels wants to come in and play for LSU out of nowhere. Like the signs kind of aligned where this is just not meant to be for you, bro. Like it's
Yeah.
not meant to be. And I think he finally has to accept that. And he did. And I think he's got a greater purpose, whatever that case may be. He's aligned for something better, and the timing just wasn't right for him with football. The kid's set. He comes from a wealthy family. It's not a money thing for him. The kid just
Well,
wanted to play football.
and I think that kind of gets into something I wanted to talk about, because let's talk about the rough side, the bad side first. Myles Brennan comes in as a freshman. People like me, the idiot fans, were pushing for him to start. I guess it's probably Etling at this time, if that is as crazy as that sounds. Um, doesn't win the starting job. Well, we think, well, fuck, it's this guy. This is our guy. He's got a live arm. I've seen him. He's actually got a little bit of athleticism, throws on the run. Joe Burrow walks in the door, and then it's we get injured, and then it's we get injured, and we're gonna take the starting job from Max Johnson. We're gonna do this, and it's just like, how many times? Like, it just has to be one of those things where he's just gonna think about all the what ifs like over and over again. And it's like it sucks too because when he did get that opportunity, it's like he threw for a lot of yards and threw for a lot of touchdowns and looked like he was ready, and he did learn from Joe Burrow, and things just didn't work out. Is it like, does he have I know Matt Flynn made a lot more money, but are we gonna rank him in that career, like, career pantheon where he gets a ring and then he gets paid in NIL and doesn't really have to play football?
The pantheon of Matt
Of,
Flynn,
like,
or
just, like,
just
great lives, of being a quarterback that didn't really play much and got paid and got rings.
yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think his name,
Like,
his hype, and not his performance. I know a lot of people are going to stick on his stats against Missouri or in Mississippi State, like whatever. He had a good game,
Vandy
but yeah,
dimed
at
him
the end
up.
of the day, though, Myles Brennan's name was pumped up because of his potential
Yeah.
and what people thought he could do if all the cards aligned correctly for him. And he got NIL deals based on that. I think you can still give him NIL deals now, even though he's retired from LSU
I
football.
think that would be a job.
But you get my point is that
I
he is an
think that's called
advocate
a
for
job.
LSU, where regardless of on-field performance, he represented LSU so great where the fans were obsessed with him without an on-field performance that people could slap a logo on him and be like, well, they're going to talk about it.
But don't you think a little of that goes away with retiring and not sitting in the ops building and trying to be like the leader in the clubhouse and do all these things? Don't you
Oh
think that
yeah.
takes
No,
away
I
a little
was
bit?
just making a joke based on like the kid never really did anything and he's got a million NIL deals. It's like his
Yeah.
name alone brought him so many deals, and it
Would
wasn't
you
to
rather
do. Go
would
ahead.
you rather Brennan's career or Ryan Paralou's? Because Ryan Paralou's like the one of those ultimate what ifs, and I feel like Brennan's in that
No,
similar
Parallel is the what if. Like he is
because
the
it's like
ultimate
he
what
didn't
if.
get the opportunity. It's like Myles Brennan had it. So which one would you want? Both have rings, right? Both got a
Yeah,
ring.
I would say Parallel because 5-star guy, he comes in and like he fucked that up. Like Ryan Parallel single-handedly was the reason why. Like we've had a trickle effect, a butterfly effect because of Ryan Parallel, and that could be an entire pod in itself.
Oh,
But
we've been
Ryan Parallel,
brainstorming that pod for almost a half decade now. So yeah.
yeah, Ryan Parallel did it to himself. Myles Brennan, it was fate, and you can't fight that. And I think with Parallel using a fake ID, Les Miles coming in trying to really instill discipline and make an example of like the
Of
hot
all
shot
people.
quarterback.
Of all
Yeah,
people, Miles. Fuck.
right. So I definitely think they're in the same category of the what if situation. I think it's more clear though that Ryan Parallel, in my opinion, Ryan Parallel with a different opportunity, with a different coaching staff,
You can blame
could,
someone. You can blame something and say, "Well,
yeah,
I would have done this." And whereas Brennan, it's like, "Well, I guess maybe you could say like, I if I didn't fall on a dock or whatever
right.
happened,
There
I
was
would."
multiple staffs that were just kind of like, you're not better than this guy. You're not better than this guy. You're not like where Parallel, he came in and they were like trying to develop him because they knew like this guy's going to win us a national championship next season. And it just, let's kick him off.
I love when Grant pops in because he wants to say something and then we don't let him speak. It's one of my favorite things about the video. All right, well, let's
Grant, speak.
another one I thought about on that
I was
same
just
kind of
hopping
go
back
ahead,
in.
Grant. All
I
right.
didn't have anything to say. I was just hopping in.
All right, good, good. I miss seeing you. I appreciate you, bud. We really do. Shout out Grant the intern. Like seriously, I know we joke around and shit, but Grant's crushing it. So give him a follow or I don't care, whatever. Um, what about Justin Jefferson? Because Jordan Jefferson. Because Jordan Jefferson played in a shit ton of games, played in a national championship, obviously didn't win it.
He
Would you rather have Jordan Jefferson's career or Myles Brennan's?
Listen, I don't want Myles Brennan's career. I'll make that very clear.
I'm just saying you caught a ring, you got some money, you got to be on some
Jefferson
cool
won the
teams.
starting job multiple years.
I know,
Yeah,
but
no,
I
I
mean,
think Myles Brennan made out fine. Right. In the
but
grand scheme of things, for somebody, if he didn't have the hype around him, right? If he didn't have 90% of the fan base begging for him to start, take that away, then yeah. If you're just a
what I'm
career backup
saying,
quarterback, like that's awesome. Like you made your money being a backup. You played in a handful of
yeah.
games. You won a national championship. You were sitting behind the greatest college football quarterback of all time. Like, yeah, he had a great career. At the end of the day, he really did have a good career.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I know he had some surgeries and got banged up, but it's like, you didn't get a bunch of concussions because you played a bunch. I don't know. It's like, dude, I'm reading the fucking Tiger droppings today, and people are like, I still think Myles Brennan could be on an NFL roster. And it's like, well, I don't know
That's
I can't help you then. And that's what I'm saying. If you
but
don't play
those
and you have injuries and you never actually go prove whether you can fucking do it or not when the game's on the line,
3 games.
then people are always gonna be like, "Oh, I love Myles Brennan." You know what I'm saying? Like everyone hates
and I
George
don't
Jefferson at times because of the
yeah,
haunting things he's done to us, but he got to play, so it's like
but
that's the
that's the
trade-off.
problem. I think that was the issue though, was the amount of irrational hype that Myles Brennan got. I
Hand
think
up.
it brought us to this moment where the only way to like counter argue that is to shit on the kid. And
Yeah.
that was a big problem. Is like if you were not sucking off Myles Brennan, then you were labeled as a hater of Myles Brennan. And that's just not true. I always thought Myles Brennan had a ridiculous arm. I thought he was just completely ruined in an awful Les Miles situation. I think he was a project quarterback that had so much potential. I think he reminded me of Jared Goff. He's a guy that was just tall, great pocket passer, could sling it all over the place. I think us adding 30 pounds, 50, whatever, how many pounds of just pure fat on the kid was
Yeah.
stupid. Like there was
No
no
shit.
reason to do that. I don't know. There was just a lot of
It's
things where
so
we just
true.
totally destroyed this kid, you know?
It's
Like
so
he
true. We're like,
regressed.
we just gotta put weight on him, and he's the ideal quarterback. We fucking slap 30 pounds on him, like, we're gonna get a kid from Ohio.
Yeah, it's like,
He is
guys,
a
PB&J is not the secret to success. And like that's what we
you
thought. Like all Brennan has to do is wake up at 3 a.m. and eat 4 PB&Js, and he's going to turn the corner. It's like, no, get him a quarterback coach that can make him identify and read defenses quicker. Work on his release. I mean, work on his identifying. Reading defenses and getting rid of the ball quicker. I mean, that was it. That was the only thing like he had to do better, improve his feet a little bit. And he was a dog, but we never saw that. But I think the hype train of like, oh, he can make an NFL roster without really proving that probably got to his head, to be honest with you, and was like,
yeah.
I really am the guy and I'm going to stick it out.
Yeah, I can do all these other things, and I can just go and let my arm show off what I can do. And maybe that wasn't good enough, or maybe it was just injuries. It's one of those we'll never know. It's weird. You kind of mentioned like the butterfly effect of Ryan Perrilloux, and it's like I know coaches are kind of tied to quarterback decisions and all that stuff, but it just feels like Myles Brennan is such like a weird like butterfly effect for Ed Orgeron's tenure at LSU. It's like, what if we never got Burrow? What happens with with Coach O? Like, is he gone a year ahead of time? Do we actually
Yes.
does that team have so much talent and Brennan's got the arm to just throw it up to Jamar Chase and Jefferson? Do we win 11 games, lose to Alabama? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just it's one of those things that we could sit here and like make up scenarios of how everything played out with this dude. And I guess that's one of the things that happens when you're out of school for over half a decade.
And I think at the end of the day, though, man, I wouldn't trade it. I think Joe Burrow obviously coming in and giving
Oh
us the
yeah.
best season we've ever seen, and then sacrificing 2 years of hell to get Brian Kelly during a rebuild process, but a rebuild process that I think we're about to have a lot of fun with.
Shout
Um,
out Lee in the chat. You got nothing. I'm sorry, I had to break chat for Lee, Mike. You understand
it's
that
all
was
good. No, Lee's
that
the
was
man. Lee's
necessary.
the man.
I've been playing by the
Lee
rules.
Lee being on here at 8:30 on a YouTube chat,
I
like
got
that's
so
big.
happy. You
That's
got
freaking big.
nothing.
Um,
You got nothing.
let's talk about this though, man. I think today's situation, the picture that was painted is this is a new era, dude. Like, this is not like you mentioned, like, we're not giving a bouquet of flowers to Myles Brennan to start the Florida State game and have him go sit the bench the rest of the season just to make him and his family happy. Like, that shit's over with. It doesn't matter who you are. The best player is going to play. And right now, they feel like Jaden Daniels is the best option to win. We're at a point in the fall camp where we need to start expounding on this playbook and form it around the talents of Jaden Daniels, and start distributing this ball. I think I'm super pumped to see this kid's legs, but also what we can do with our talent with that type of dangerous option. You go back and watch. And I hate when people say, well, look what he did at Arizona State last year. You know, he only had a 65% passing rating, whatever. Like, that's still pretty good. Whatever the case may be. It's the same type of reaction I have to people talking about LSU the past 2 years. I don't want a breakdown of anybody on our roster from the past 2 seasons because, one, they didn't give a damn. 2, they weren't coached at all. And they were going off of just raw talent. I think Jaden Daniels is in that boat, and he was not coached properly at Arizona State. He was within a dumpster fire of a system, did not have the talent around him that he has here. But you go back to his true freshman year, you go back to 19, and you see what he looks like walking in without being tarnished, without that dumpster fire yet, and just raw talent ability. He looked phenomenal. So you couple that with this great coaching staff, I think we're in for a treat, to be honest with you. And I'm not sitting back being like, oh, Nuss is done for good. I'd really still believe Nuss is a play away from going in, and we're going to be fine if we have to play Nuss. I just, I'm excited to see this offense evolve now that we have named a starter. It's kind of a relief.
Have we though? I don't think we have. Have they?
No. What I'm saying is, I think
that's fine. I just think that there's going to be some people listening.
Kelly hasn't come
out. Little confused.
Kelly hasn't come out and announced that yet. I have heard that they talked about it at this golf thing. Whenever it was announced that Jaden Daniels was going to be taking this first snaps, that's when Myles was like, okay, I'm going to announce my retirement. And they kind of had like a little deal. So I don't know.
Good for Brennan. I respect that, and not just like doing it on Notes app or whatever on Twitter and shit. Like, you gave it a shot and it didn't work out. Good luck to you.
Can you imagine the 30-year-old on the team like shooting out a text message to the rest of the 20-year-olds?
And like, shout out to my boy for waiting to get that free golf trip, that free little club. What is it? Not Club Champion. I just Top Golf. Like, Top Golf. That's a seasoned veteran move. Like, if you're a freshman and you're homesick, you leave 2 days before the sick golf trip. You know what I'm saying?
Give me another slice of pizza.
Exactly. He was like, I will have that milkshake.
I'm blowing it.
LSU. It's like, this kid had the metabolism of a champion, was never going to put on weight. And LSU, he's just going to be a fucking barrel in 4 years. And it's going to be it's going to be like, we'll laugh to ourselves and not be able to say it out loud. Like, it's going to be one of those.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that the minute Brian Kelly got the job and he hired the nutritionist, like, he had Myles Brennan in mind. He was probably just like, hey, we really need to get this kid to lose some weight.
Yeah,
and then everybody's sitting back like, only if you knew.
He sees a walk-on's Instagram. He's like, son of a bitch.
This dude's air humping with a cheeseburger on the bar.
I don't. This may not be a fair comparison, and it may not work at all. But to me, whenever I think about Den Brock and Brian Kelly and Jaden Daniels as a starting offense, I get these vibes of watching that Auburn team with Nick Marshall. Where was Nick Marshall going to absolutely dime you up with his arm? Most likely not. But like, was he was a decent thrower. Like, he made throws, but what he did was his ability to run the ball made defenses not be able to play the pass. It was more like, we have to have man, or we have to do this because we have to make sure we stop this triple option, this zone read attack that this dude has. And I feel like that could be what happens with LSU and Jaden Daniels, where it's like, this dude's so dynamic in the running game that it makes his passing ability almost seem better because there's less doubles on booty, there's less extra safety over the top, or whatever you want to talk about. And it may, like I said, maybe it's just not fair, and maybe it's dumb of me, and I hope I'm wrong and he's the best thrower, better than Burrow, but it just feels like one of those to me where like his legs just cause such a the defense to do things that they may not against other quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's a good comparison. I think he's a little bit better of a passer than we're giving him credit for just yet. I think he
agree. I
kind of
agree.
reminds me of
That's not a
Mariota a little
anti.
bit.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fair.
Oregon Mariota situation, I think that is kind of the mold that you would kind of cater
So
this
Heisman.
offense toward. Yeah, I mean, like he's obviously, I don't think he's a Heisman contender, but I think he's more of a passer in the Mariota sense than the Auburn cat. So
how pissed are the people that loaded up on a little like Brennan 80-1 Heisman ticket right now?
Yeah, not good. I mean,
Actually, probably. I bet it gets
that.
canceled. I bet it gets canceled. No action.
It's a nice void action, nice V.
Also a little inside for the listener, so we can take like a quick 30-second break. About like 8 times, 10 times a week, there's a text or a group chat that goes back and forth that's just like LSU's going to fucking destroy Florida State. Just so everyone understands like where we're at, where we're sitting at, a little pulse of the nation. Like it's
I do feel obligated to always let you know and like Grant know like when I'm thinking that at that moment.
Yeah,
and it'll pop
100%.
in my head at the most random times. Like I'll be sitting at my desk finishing breakfast and like taking a sip of coffee and I'm just like, we're gonna fucking kill Florida State.
Yeah,
like I just feel it happening, and I just have to let you guys know. And y'all do the same thing. It's like a merry-go-round of just like, yeah, we're gonna win by at least 20 points.
Well, I just like I do that dumb thing of like, you know, if you
Right.
can't fall asleep or you're working and not really wanting to work, and I just play the schedule out in my head over and over again. I'm talking like stats. I'm like, Neighbors has a sick game against Arkansas. Like it's just my brain is
It's
really
scary
dumb
to do because the more you do it, the more you're like, we could win 11 games.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, and I fucking talked myself into like all of these scenarios, and I'm like, well, I will be pissed if we're 7-5. If we go 8-4, but we lose to this team, like that's a bad.
When you sent that message of just like, I will be like 8-4 is just not going to cut it. And I was like, wait a minute. Like last week we were all on board that's kind of like, that would be kind of on par with the first year. But you're right. I mean, like the more you look at it, and obviously the closer we get to the season, we're getting excited. But we've got dudes everywhere. You know, we're going to go into this episode. There's some names being tossed around where your eyes kind of open up and be like, well, damn, that means this competition, this whole clean slate approach, you've got guys rising to the top now that you didn't really expect, like this Colby Richardson cat. Like that, we're going to get into that in a second here. Sevyn Banks,
Jason Taylor's kid.
Mason Taylor is one of the biggest surprises.
Brian Kelly literally said he was going to play.
Yeah. No, he's going to play a lot. Cool. I think he could eventually be a starting guy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the guy that like I kind of forgot that we got because everything's been like so crazy. The true freshman walks in, and like I know, like once again, we'll preface like Brian Kelly and staff don't have that SEC experience, so maybe they don't realize that this dude's not ready. But I think Brian Kelly has a good idea of who can play where, and it's like when you hear that, you're like, oh. Well, maybe we're not so down at tight end. And then you hear some things about Will Campbell. Some of the text and DMs that get thrown out about Will Campbell, like I'm not going to sit here and try to pump it up anymore, but it's serious. Like they're talking about this dude's a Whitworth. And then
Jacob Hester said he is the best offensive lineman he has seen at LSU since Andrew Whitworth.
And it's like, well, once again, as an LSU fan that's been watching, like I'm gonna hold steady and not talk about how the offensive line's awesome, but like there's potential that this offensive line is not a detriment to this team this year.
Dude, they're talking about Anthony Bradford being like the guy too, like holding it down hardcore at right tackle.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not buying in 1,000% to there. I'll buy into Daniel's feet. I'll buy into all these transfer safety guys. I'll buy into our wide receivers. I will wait to see it on the offensive line, but it is something like I couldn't be more excited about, and I'm optimistic.
The O-line's going against probably arguably the best defensive line in the country. Or in the SEC. In the SEC.
100%. And I've made that argument.
This D-line is like, you know, was it 2 years, the national championship year, Auburn's D-line where they had those big guys up front, like, and we were like, damn, that's probably the best D-line.
Like Georgia's D-line last season was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
very similar to
this year. That's us this year. And these O-linemen are battling every day against those guys. Like,
iron
No,
sharpens
I
iron.
love the story that's been. I mean, I'm sure you guys heard it. It's been very talked about that Will Campbell and Ali Gay, like right out of the jump. Will Campbell stood up to him and was like, "You're not going to fucking do that shit to me. You're not going to put." It was kind of ridiculous. Like, a hand is going to get every now and then under your face mask, but like the fact that Will Campbell had the balls to stand up to this like 5th-year senior,
leader.
defensive end leader on the defensive line and be like, "No, bro, like you ain't doing that to me. Like, I'm here. I'm the guy now." Pretty awesome, because that's just that confidence is just going to keep getting higher and higher as the seasons progress. So
there's just a lot of teams, a lot of the really good teams have that offensive lineman that other fan bases hate. And it's because that they're always going to protect their guy. They're the alpha out there. And it's like there's this just big 350-pound white dude that just doesn't take any shit from anybody. And it seems like we have one of those dudes. I just can't really point out a lot of those dudes that we had when like Bama just seems like they get a bunch of them. Hopefully this is the start, and hopefully that sets the trend for the other kid that's from his high school that his name and I won't remember. Emory Jones, Lance Hurd, September 1st.
Emory Jones,
Tiger details too.
Zalance.
Like it's just I can talk myself into this offensive line. Don't kid yourself. Like I have done it many times. It's just I can't sit here and like with 100% gusto just tell you like I know that our offensive line is going to be awesome.
No, I mean I obviously know that there's a lot of skepticism. What do you?
You obviously do know. You're like I obviously know.
No, I know that there's always skepticism going into an offensive line. I think that's what we kind of toss back and forth every year. We'll believe it when we see it. These guys are potential. I mean, like Will Campbell comes in as like a 5-star stud. Lamar Stevens says, "I think the O-line is done being sloppy and out of shape." Yeah, I mean, we're recruiting at a lot higher rate. Will Campbell, like I said,
it seems like we're developing.
Obviously,
it remains to be seen.
So speaking of development, let's talk a little bit about this. So recruiting wise, you do have Zalance Hurd coming in at the end of sets his date for September 1st. So Hurd is announcing, I don't know if it's on the Geordie show, but Zalance Hurd.
No,
I doubt it because he's announcing from Monroe.
Yeah, I saw it on Tiger Details. He said something like, "You're the only person to ask." So yeah, I'm doing it on September 1st.
There we go.
His list.
Also, shout out
garbage.
Shout out Jordy, because I did say I'd be very excited to watch someone go on a local podcast and commit to some other school. And your boy Matthews went to Tennessee. So that was great to see. Like, shout out. Loved that. I couldn't have loved it more.
He definitely played it up that this is a business and I have to do this. And
J-O-B.
No, I didn't watch it. I missed it. I completely forgot. I will go back. I will do everything to that video, because like a huge respect to just being like, hey, local Baton Rouge podcast where we just talk about Mikey Montook and whatever LSU guys in here. Oh, Tennessee, sick. Like I love it. Absolutely love it.
Kai Preen, the wide receiver that actually
straight out of Dogtown.
Yeah, Kai, straight out of the Dogtown. Really, really good receiver that's kind of blowing up right now in the recruiting circuit. He's a guy that's coming out of St. James who has offers. I think it's down to us, Auburn, Florida State, maybe. And I think Ole Miss is in there as well. But he looks like he's leaning LSU. Could be that third piece to that wide receiver puzzle. I'm pretty sure he's announcing maybe Wednesday, or it might be tomorrow. I know it's this week. So that's another one to take a look at. So you could have Kai Preen and Hurd coming in before the season starts. That'll pump us up. I think we might jump up to a top 5 class. I know Kylan Jackson, the other big commitment we just got out of Zachary. We're loading up at DB. Pretty crazy. Like the defensive back is literally like 90% of this recruiting class right now.
There's a 5-star that we're apparently in the running for too. Torian or
Tavolan. The guy out of
Matthews tweeting.
Yeah, we have a couple dudes out of Texas, 2 of which were committed to A&M that both decommitted. So they're freaking out a little bit about that. I don't know how they're going to work the numbers out with that. It'll be very interesting if we can at least grab half of those that are still remaining. And you still are working on Derek Williams out of Westgate, the 5-star safety. So A lot of guys still in the mix there at defensive back. Y'all want to jump into something else real quick before I go into Colby Richardson?
So at some point we can move on, but at some point I think we have to discuss the possibility of Nussmeier transferring.
All right, let's get into that now. Let's
so I don't know, I didn't know if you had like a bathroom stall story, so I didn't want to like transition back.
That's usually in the beginning. That's usually
how's the single stall doing all right for you these days?
Yeah, no, I do have a stall story, but we don't have to go into it today.
Is it post pod? That's a post pod.
Yeah, we can do that. It was a DC situation. Nothing to do with work.
Okay. I tried. Listen, fans, I tried. Mike was on a little vacation, little weekend trip to Washington, D.C., and I told him he should go try to find a bald guy and interview him like he was Matt House, LSU's defensive coordinator, and we could release it as the exclusive D.C. interview. And I thought it would have been really funny, but Mike didn't oblige.
I loved it.
I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done it either.
Scooters.
I come up with those ideas, but I wouldn't do it. I can't. I don't know. One day we'll man on the street at my.
Why are we hating on the scooter day? Like, I don't understand.
I wasn't. I was not.
I'm not
I
hating.
respect the hell out of it. I did get a good laugh when there was like someone that like drove through or into the Capitol, and Grant's like, "Oh shit, Mike, what's up?" And you're like, "Dude, I didn't catch any of that." Like, it made me laugh. I don't care.
To be fair, it was
even
4 a.m. the next day. But yeah,
and that's fine. I don't care. I like the story better the way it is in my head, where you were just riding a bike and not like, you know, oblivious to the just like sirens and everything going on. That's all. I don't care. I'm gonna let it be in my head.
The African American Museum had the National Hip Hop Day at the African American Museum, so there was a ton of vendors out there selling cool shirts and stuff. I bought a teal Tupac shirt and
got some good swag. Where's that bucket? I can't believe
the bucket hat fully cashed.
I literally went looking for a bucket hat because I felt like tonight was like with Myles leaving and everything could have been like a bucket hat night to get a little loose on stream. I went looking. I was like, Mike's gonna wear that bucket hat. Like, we will not do a bucket hat on this pod ever. That's something I can guarantee.
No, I'm not breaking out the DC bucket.
I think this year though, I thought about this today. We have to have like at the end of October, that pod is going to be a Halloween pod, and we have to have a costume.
Since we're also on bye, but yeah, that's fine.
Well, I'm still going to do a pod. By the way.
God. All right. So a discussion that kind of, I guess, went back and forth. I think it's I don't think it's likely. I think Nussmeier, like you're gonna say, you know, that one play away, he can still fight for his time to be the starting quarterback. It's not gonna completely shock me if he fails. It's just not.
Yeah, I disagree because I don't see where he would go, where he'd have a better opportunity to play this season. Like if he's going to get disgruntled.
I don't think it's about this season.
Well, if it's about next season, I think he's going to get more playing time and more reps this year to prepare for his exit. If what he's thinking is, screw this, I'm out of here, why would he not just say, screw this, I'm out of here after I get some in-game reps this year against SEC opponents and get, build my tape up a little bit? Like, I'm not going to leave and just go ride the pine for a season and not actually participate. Because he is a snap away from starting, for one. We're going to have plenty of games where he does get a start or get to play against New Mexico State, Southern, all these other teams. I mean, like, you're going to play.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think getting like New Mexico reps is what when you're a highly recruited guy out of Texas that goes.
You'd rather sit the bench.
No, I'm just telling you, like, it's possible he's looking at what Myles Brennan's gone through and been like, I looks ahead of him and sees Daniels.
I agree with you. I agree
with you.
You
look behind yourself and you see Walker Howard.
It wouldn't shock, like what you said earlier, where I wouldn't like fall on the floor surprised. I agree with that. But if I'm making a bet right now, no, Nussmeier does not leave this team until his competition where he loses out to Walker Howard next spring.
Yeah, I get it. And it's just like, or you could sit here and think like, well, like maybe I don't even want to do that next year. Maybe I want to go get my foot planted here at some random school. I can't, like, I'm not telling you I know the perfect spot for him.
No, it could happen.
It's just,
I am the boat that it's not going to, because I think you have to have multiple good quarterbacks on a roster. Depth is everything.
Yeah, but that's not his problem. Like that's not Nussmeier's problem. Like that's Brian Kelly's problem. Yeah.
Right. And I think we have a coaching staff that can convince good quarterbacks to stay on the roster.
Exactly.
And I think we're not used to seeing that.
If we're being completely honest, like I think that's fine. Like it wouldn't absolutely pain me to see Walker Howard get these New Mexico reps and go into next year as like being a guy that's potentially still a redshirt freshman. Like I love Nuss. I hope Nuss ends up like winning the job and become quarterback. I don't care. I want the guy at LSU to be able to win. I don't care who it is. I don't know. I think kids want to play football. And
so you think he's leaving? So you think he's leaving?
What if this?
Because I know there's always a chance, but make a stand.
I would say 60-40 stay. Like I would lean stay, but it's like I'm telling you, if we wake up one morning and Lon's got a sick fire tweet with some sirens on it and shit, and it's like sources through the Odyssey are telling me that Nussmeier's in the portal, it's like I'm gonna be like, well, that kind of sucks, but okay, well, we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I agree that it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Daniels has 2 years no matter what.
I thought Daniels had 2 years.
Daniels has 2.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like,
so this was going to be my question. I guess it's not quite the same, but let's say Nuss this week, boom, he goes off, and like they're like Nuss is actually the starter. Maybe Daniels, maybe Daniels comes down like a basketball move on his foot. You know how those things happen, and then we're like, okay, well, does Daniels transfer before the season?
I think no. I don't think anyone.
Or is it different?
I don't think anyone else is transferring before the season.
Right.
We're a couple weeks away from playing Florida State. Yeah. We just named Daniels Myles Brennan maybe the starter.
Yeah,
like,
I think
these guys are going to compete.
That makes sense. Jordan Tolles, that makes sense. Like some of these guys that are leaving and transferring before the season, those guys makes.
I think Brennan knew like I'm third. I'm not going to like those two guys are that much better than me. Like Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels are clearly better than me. I'm not going to beat both of them. Yeah, I'm out of here. I think Nussmeier has a chance to beat Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has one shitty game, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, put Nuss in," and they might feel just as comfortable putting Nuss in. And it's going to happen.
Let's think about this too. Where could Nuss go to where his NIL value, his value period, is going to be better? Like who? I guess they're places
not right now. Not this year.
It's not right now. That's kind of my thing. It's like wherever he goes, man. He's just go
hang out with Mike. Go to fucking UNC and hang out for a year, and then be the UNC quarterback that just throws it 1,000 times. Like I'm not saying like. It's just I'm trying to put myself in the mind of a 19-year-old kid who's always been the best, and his dad's the coach, so he's supposed to be the quarterback, and he just keeps like barely missing out, or he gets his opportunity at LSU as a freshman. And like for us, we're sitting here like, dude, you have time, like relax. But that's just not the way it works sometimes. Like there might be a little bit more urgency in him to want to go somewhere else and have a new start. I'm not saying any of this is true. I think he really likes Brian Kelly. I think he would do really well under Brian Kelly, and it would be a good relationship. But it's like, sometimes dudes just want to play football. Maybe he goes A&M. Lamar Stevens is right. Like, fuck, let me go battle out Max Johnson. Like, sign me up for that to go play with those guys. I don't know.
They've got a 5-star freshman quarterback who is not starting there. So that'd be kind of tough. I think Myles Brennan could have had a shot at A&M. No, so we'll see.
A&M's quarterbacks had a nice little video that posted last week too. I think they were doing.
So let's say it happens. So Nussmeier decides to say, "Screw this! I'm out of here. I'm not going to listen to any of my coaches," and we're left with Jaden Daniels and Walker Howard. How do we feel about that?
I'll ride with that. I mean, it's one of those that you probably wouldn't run Daniels as much as you would like, which sucks and hinders him. But I mean, dude, once again, like this type of situation where Walker Howard would get reps is where I'd be more comfortable or more okay with that 8-4, 7-5 type season because of how many reps that this dude's going to get. And it's like, we understand that, like, with Bama coming in, it might not be great. Or like when we go to this place or go to the swamp, like it could end up being bad for us. And guess what? We're gonna have to sit there and take the jokes and the Brian Kelly bullshit talk about like how he's not SEC culture fit. Like we might have to suffer through that for another year. And then it's like, oh wait, no, we fucked up. That's how I would feel.
Yeah, that would suck, man. I don't see any way that you're a successful program without good quality quarterback depth these days, and the best coaches know how to keep them all on the roster. And I think that's the difference we're not used to seeing at this program. You can look at anybody.
I think Sloan's big with that, you know, like you said, like I think these guys really like him and know what he can do for them. So I hope it doesn't happen.
And that's the thing. These kids, we're so used to LSU football where these kids are finding any reason possible to either go to the NFL or transfer out. We're not used to people wanting to stick around for it. And so I see why you'd be a little gun shy and like favor Nuss jumping. But I mean, you look at Bama's quarterback room. You know, who's going to start over Bryce Young? Nobody. But why do they have a room full of 5-star quarterbacks? You look at, I mean, the depth, Ohio State.
Because you're going to catch a ring or two and then get a chance to play for another. That's why.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Right. I mean, Ohio State does it. Clemson does it. Texas A&M does it. Like, these quarterback rooms are loaded. Michigan is doing it right now. The McCarthy kid, 5-star quarterback, sitting behind a returning starter. You're one play away from being that starter. You're not 2 people away like Myles Brennan was. That's where I side with him. Like, he'd be insane to leave.
Maybe.
If he does, you got to hope. Your hope is Ricky Collins is somewhat of a real deal, and whoever's after him is an actual 5-star quarterback.
Well, it's one of those things, man. Like if we can just like survive, you can let Walker Howard's career play out, and you just have to like load up depth. Like you have to just hammer those 4-star guys that their best offers may be like Indiana and not Ohio State.
Purdue.
And you just clean up
Purdue.
Exactly. You clean up on those guys to build.
You have to get no less than a 4-star. You got to get less
and try to hit
no less than a 4-star quarterback in every recruiting class, which is something Les and Ed didn't do consistently.
I mean, that's a big ask, but you need a quarterback in every class. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, you kind of need two, if you have because one's going to transfer.
You would think it's possible with this staff, though, to get a 4-star quarterback.
I think what we're also missing here, though, is the portal itself. We're talking about kids
we can go get a junior.
We go get it. Like, we don't need to load up with multiple quarterbacks every year at a high school when you can get a Garrett Nussmeier that wants to jump ship and not be number 2. You know, we can bring him back in to start immediately. But that's almost like worst case scenario. But at the same time, like we're talking about, if Nuss does decide to leave and you're left with just those 2, you're looking at panicking and trying to fill that void next season with a transfer quarterback. So you don't just have, like, because a lot of people think Jaden Daniels will go pro. If he's that good, he's going to leave. Like, he's not here for the long haul. He's going to have a good season.
Kyler Murray action.
Yeah, whatever the case may be. Then you're left with just Walker Howard and Ricky Collins. You're probably going to bring in a transfer quarterback for depth.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, would Brennan still have a year of eligibility?
I think that's a good option. I think that would definitely be something we can – maybe by then, dude. Maybe by then.
What if this is the long game?
That is the call.
Take this whole year.
That is
I'm going to take this whole year, and I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to beat out these 2 freshmen.
So we talked about Mason Taylor being a big surprise. A guy at tight end. You need that big type of surprise when all you got is Jack Mashburn and Cole Taylor as kind of your go-to tight end targets with an offense where Brian Kelly really likes tight ends. He likes to have multiple, if he can, tight ends on the field. We'll see how that works with our personnel. But I think he just loves that mismatch. He loves fielding that option at a tight end. Mason Taylor apparently is just enormous and is showing out, one of the biggest surprises. For those that don't know, he is Jason Taylor's son, big, bald guy.
And Zach Thomas is his uncle, which that was look, man, there may be some people who be like, oh, I can't believe you didn't know that. But like, I didn't know Jason Taylor was fiddling around with the linebackers' sisters. So, but that's good genes. Like, I'm very excited about that. That means
those are Wrangler Levi-esque. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Like Brett Favre could fit in those things
if he has them on.
I don't know where.
So the AP poll comes out for the first time since 2000. We are not ranked.
It hurts.
Absurd.
It hurts. It's
I get it. The past 2 years we've been terrible.
Come on, man, but you don't know, like, you can't throw us like a 22 spot. Like,
For sure. It's
Grant, you have the
absurd.
poll up. I want to look at the bottom 5. I need to look at the bottom 5 of who they're ranking ahead of us. That's my guy.
Does he
He's
have
so
that?
on it.
There he
I'm
is.
telling you, if we were in the room, it'd be 5 more minutes for this for me to get here.
You're right. This is new Grant. This is COVID Grant.
It's so good. Who's that? Houston, Wake Forest. Wake Forest doesn't even have a quarterback.
Yeah,
BYU. I
quarterback's
think
gone.
BYU is going to be all right. Dude, you got to throw LSU in here with Brian Kelly. Come on, like, come on.
That is outrageous. With the talent that we have stacked up right now, and I know we might not have great depth everywhere, but our first string everywhere across the board is better than maybe half of these teams.
If this LSU team has like good injury luck, they are a top 12 team. Like they may lose a couple games, but they're going to be as talented. Like they should be favored in 10 of their 12 games.
Let's talk about a little bit of these talented players that were throwing around here. Colby Richardson, transfer from McNeese, comes in, apparently is locking down Butte.
Huge hype.
Yeah, a lot of hype right now from Colby Richardson. He's number 22. For anyone, like, and that's going to be a big thing. We're going to have to like always talk about numbers when we mention
It's a program type season.
Absolutely. So whenever you have guys like Fouché, Greg Brooks, Makai Gardner, Jarek Bernard Converse, like we've been talking about the top transfers that come in, and now all of a sudden Colby Richardson is like, no, that is number one. Like Colby Richardson's the top guy right now so far. And then Seven Banks apparently is like locking it down and 7-on-7, but has not been allowed to go live yet with team. But they're saying like when that happens, he's number 2. Like, whoa, like what happened to Converse and Gardner and Brooks? Like that's depth. That's what you need, though. You need all those guys competing. And right now, you've got some serious competition
Aristotle.
at that DB room. Yeah, I don't think Abraham's going to get a lot of play, but you're looking at a lot of depth here, a lot of competition. They're also saying Sage Ryan is looking like he's finally catching on, and he's been running with the ones at that nickel position and not Greg Brooks.
Which is nice because he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that comes in highly recruited. We get super amped about. We think he's going to be a stud, and it doesn't happen immediately. So it's nice when some of those guys it takes them a year or two, but it's like, oh yeah, this is why this guy had that 5-star rating, and this is why this dude like can play, and it's just cool to see guys kind of develop. And we'll see, you know, maybe it's just a coaching change. Maybe it's who knows what it is. It could be just years of growth and development. But it's cool to see those guys who like get a chance and don't really shine and then do well.
It's the other thing that's kind of surprising is sorry, real quick, is now you made me lose my train of thought. No, Major Burns and Jay Ward are also rolling in, and not Fouché, which is interesting right now. Also, though, I think this is premature. I think I'm not going to make any of these like, oh, these are the starters yet, probably until at least another week or so. But Harold Perkins is also running with the ones as of yesterday.
Yeah. He's a guy that's just going to stand out on the field as a freshman. And go ahead.
He's unfortunately, two things. That guy is going to unfortunately get ejected for killing someone this year. Like he's going to take someone's head off, and it's going to be, we're just going to be like, holy shit.
Can we pick who it is? Saban? I'll pick Saban.
Against just on the sideline. That would be awesome. The other thing about the DBs is like, I feel like they all came in with a clean slate. Every DB you mix match from all across the country, literally all these different universities. I mean, you have 6 different Division I colleges you have DBs from. So everyone comes in with a clean slate, and there's no one that had a position that had it locked down. You know, like Jay Ward, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, Major Burns, maybe, but they still don't have it locked down. You know,
I think you can just say that across the board. Like, I think that's done great at the offensive line. I think the defense, like Brian Kelly and all these position coaches, they don't care what happened on the 6-6 team last year. Like, they just don't care how many starts, how many tackles. Like, they are going off what they're seeing, and they're going to pick the best guys to fit the best scheme, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, I've said it a million times. Like, they don't give a shit. And like, it goes from the quarterback. Like, Nussmeier was here, whatever, got some reps, you know, whatever. Ed talked to his dad to make sure he was cool with everything. Brian Kelly comes in, doesn't give a fuck. It's like, dude, like, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick if Daniels is a guy, Daniels is a guy. Keep working. You may get a shot. Like, it's just no one's safe out there.
I agree. Brian Thomas being talked about as one of the strongest players on the team. Brian Kelly also talked about how he's a cat that he needs to realize how good he is. Like, the minute Brian Thomas understands his ability, he's the dude. So I think they were saying that he's still kind of stuck in that mindset of like trying to figure out some basics, and he hasn't like, he's obviously going to play a ton and he's probably going to be in the starting rotation, but he has potential to be like that next level of good.
Yeah.
And Brian Kelly's just like waiting for that to happen. So that's really exciting to see that Brian Kelly coming in is identifying this talent that he's never seen before. And he knows right off the cuff, like, Brian Thomas is a guy that has to be playing and has to be part of this rotation, but we need a little extra out of him. And it's fun that they're identifying what those needs are amongst these kids. And these guys are receiving that coaching.
And like, yeah, Hankton's a guy that's gonna like tell him, like, this is what you have to do. Go bully people downfield blocking. Like, go do this type of stuff and become the guy. Like, you have every opportunity to be Kayshon Boutte in 12 months. You have every ability to be that #1 guy who's on the Biletnikoff list, who's on this. I just do yourself a favor. If you're in the car, don't close your eyes, but close your eyes and start thinking about the offense with Brian Thomas on one side, Boutte on the other, and then you have Neighbors and Bash across the middle, just like finding mismatches. It's like, show me a better wide receivers group in the country. I'll take them up against Bama. I'll take them up against Georgia. I'll take them up against anybody who wants to go. Hopefully we have a quarterback that can get him the ball. But Brian Thomas could be a dude.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I read just a while ago, earlier today, Deion Smith, that was his name, right?
Kicked
out of the JUCO. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I missed
He's
that
a guy
one.
that was trying to get his grades up to go to Ole Miss. He used us for a little bit to do that. He ended up going to, was it East Mississippi?
Yeah.
Community college.
No place better. EMCC.
Yeah, and he got kicked off the team. So
kicked out.
Waste of talent. That kid was really good. I was hoping that he could be part of this program. Put up some really fun stats, some fun catches. Looked like somebody that could fit in really nicely. But obviously just didn't really have it all upstairs and was not aligned with what needs to be taken care of. So,
and we're big on alignment.
Another guy, Eli Ricks, I'm hearing, is having a tough time cracking the lineup.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is Saban being like, I got to break you before I can make you an All-American, which you're going to be. I can't just give this to you. Or if he's really just a fuckwad, we'll see.
I've questioned myself. I've questioned myself many a times, because it's like, this is Saban. Like, this is Saban mental assassination 101. This dude's never going to miss a snap, and he's going to be dancing in the end zone, like, holding the trophy at the end of the year, talking about what a great story about the process and how you have. I can already feel that. I can already feel that. But where there is that tiny, there's this chance.
There's this sliver of hope that he is a shit.
And he's just on the sideline holding his helmet, which gives me great joy. And at least Saban has given us that. At least Saban has given us that opportunity on the front end.
Right after Perkins nails him, he punches him.
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
We just need him to die. Hot take from Camp and Chip. We were talking a little bit earlier today, and the A&M angle, and I think this needs to be discussed a little bit here.
Is that what they call it?
Do you
I thought you were saying something else.
Jimbo getting canned if he loses 3 games or more? And I started to really think about it. It's like they could easily implode,
Can you do
And
me a
they
favor and let's look at the schedule?
pull up
Yeah.
the A&M schedule. It's not as easy as we think.
But it's all guaranteed, right? Like I get like NIL, whatever. We don't care about the money, but like, would they really just be like, okay, here's 60 mil to not coach?
I
We're gonna
guess.
go pay
Well,
someone
like,
else 100 mil. What's
like
Brian
I don't
Kelly up to?
no. I think they're just like, we can't spend this type of money anymore. We are who we are. Like
We
we've done
can't keep
everything.
spending this to fucking lose 3 games a year, guys. I can't
Yeah.
keep doing it.
Well, I mean, like, what else do they need other than the greatest quote unquote recruiting class of all time? All the
My
money in the
honest,
world.
honestly, I think it would be for Jimbo to hire an offensive coordinator and just leave him alone and try to be
Yeah.
like a head coach. That
Can
that
you make
can be
Jimbo do that?
Kelly with the quarterbacks, with the offense, but it's not yours. Yeah, dude. I mean, as much as I would love for Miami to just have a we're back game, and in reality, it means
That
that
would be
just
sick
Texas
if it was at
A&M
A&M.
sucks really bad. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd be
That would be
fun.
fun.
Because we'd have a couple weeks of being like, Miami's back, like Cristobal's the best. Ed's gonna be ripping shirts off again, and then we realize it's just A&M sucks and Miami gets rolled a bunch. That would be great. Arkansas A&M feels like, and I couldn't tell you the historical reference, but it feels like every time I watch those two teams play, it feels close.
Yeah, they have like one of their little, I don't know, they usually play it in Dallas.
Like Jerry's
Like
World rivalries, yeah.
yeah, they don't like each other.
Your boy
I mean, but that's
Pate.
typical A&M, dude. They pick on people that usually beat their ass. They try to make rivalries.
Yeah, but no, it just seems like Arkansas is always kind of giving them close games. So it's like that's not a gimme. I would lean A&M if you made me bet today. Your boy Pate's really high on Mississippi State. Like we're gonna have to do a little
Really?
research on it. Yeah, I listened to a few minutes last night of him, and he was like had them ranked higher than Ole Miss in his whatever poll. I'm just
I'm
now
not
getting
bullish
in.
on Ole Miss either, but I think their schedule is pretty easy, and so
Yeah,
they could
they could be
definitely.
they could fraud their way into a top 15 looking squad, top 10
And
looking
I'll give
squad.
Camp credit for this. He thinks is predicting that that he's going to fraud his way into the Auburn job.
That Lane?
That Lane's going to leave Ole Miss for Auburn.
I don't know that I would leave Ole Miss for. I guess you could troll Saban pretty hard. That
Yes, you
is
could.
that is. It's. I was thinking about this today. It feels like Alabama. Like obviously, all these teams compete for the top teams, and then you have Auburn, who is like competing with that like second tier of teams for recruits. Like maybe that's not fair, but that's just kind of how it feels. Like it feels like they're just so second class when it's like Auburn's normally really good. And like they've
Yeah,
had their
it's
ups and
strange that
downs. They fire coaches too soon, maybe, but like I don't know. It just never feels like I will always think we're gonna have the better athletes going into that game over the last few years.
but then eventually, like towards the end of the season, they're battling, neck and neck with Bama. It is strange because you look at them as that second tier, but traditionally they are up there. And I think it's just it's a
Yeah.
testament to the talent that Alabama has in that state, where like the cream of the crop is going to go play for Saban, but then everybody else will probably get scooped up by Auburn, and they're still pretty damn good.
They're just like the weirdest team to me. Auburn's like the strangest team because
They're
they're
just
almost
awkward.
elite, but they're also almost like mid tier. Like I don't know.
Well, they're
I don't
one
Did
of
you
the
look at our
few.
winning? Go ahead.
They're one of the Auburn's one of the few that's actually been there, right? Like including us. Like they've beat Bama. They've been in national championships in the last
They
decade
know
or 2
they know
decades.
what it's like to
And
pay
like State,
$200,000
Ole
for a
Miss,
quarterback.
Kentucky,
Yeah.
Arkansas, South Carolina, none of those, Tennessee, even none of those teams have been as close as Auburn's been.
But they don't get
So
that respect. And like
yeah,
LSU kind of is in that same boat where like the minute we have a down season, they're just like, oh yeah,
well,
we forgot that
these
they're
are the
fucking
first
really
two
good.
down seasons we've had in 30 years, 20 years. So like we're
100
We're back.
years.
Auburn
back.
has
Fucking
Auburn
back.
has gone 6-6 and then been in a national championship and then gone down and then like they've gone way up and down. But
Yeah.
my other question, Ole Miss,
But no, I don't
is
think Jimbo's going to be fired.
is Kiffin's seat, like where is his threshold to get, like
Kiffin's
I don't
chilling
see him
fat.
jumping. If he goes 7-5 every year, does he just say I'm staying here forever? Like, does he
No,
get
like-
I don't
choose?
think he to be at Ole Miss forever. I think he wanted the LSU job. He didn't get the LSU job, and I think
I
he's just
know he
hanging out
wanted the
at Ole Miss
LSU
till
job.
some
So
bigger happens.
you think he's still using Ole Miss as the next
Yes.
step to something?
So I think Lane understands that Ole Miss is a spot where he can have some success, be cool, do whatever he wants, not have as many people over his shoulder, and have the ability to have that 10, 11 win season, you know, be ranked in the top 5 going into the last few weeks of the season. So he won't jump unless it's an LSU type job. Like he's not, and that's where Auburn is like so iffy in that, man, because like you can win a title and in 2 years be fired. I know LSU just did that. I know that sounds funny, but like it's just one of those spots where Lane, I would think, would sit there and be like, I think I'm okay right here. Like I'm feeling good where I'm at. And if that real job pops up, I still think he had interest in the Miami job. And I think Miami wanted Cristobal. There are jobs out there. The USC job is one. And I know Lane wouldn't go to USC, but like those premier Texas style jobs that Lane will jump to. And if not, he'll just keep trying to get it done at Ole Miss.
God, speaking of Texas, they're they're imploding.
I mean, they're still ranked top 10 in mine.
Did
didn't
Bijan
see
Robinson? Okay, it was the
I
receiver.
saw the
right?
wide receiver and the offensive lineman that were both projected to start or out for the season. And like Grant sent a couple of the messages in the group. Like it's a full on Longhorn meltdown on the internet, which is always fun to see. Normally you have to wait for like October. You have to wait until the season actually starts to get one of these melts. When Microsoft Paint comes out, that's where it's good.
They don't have an easy schedule either.
No, they don't.
You know, it'd be funny. I would love to see this recruiting class for Texas just start to crumble after a couple losses, because I really think like a lot of these recruits really believe that they're about to like be back immediately again.
Yeah,
and the second
100%.
they lose a couple games, they're gonna just
kind of like these A&M recruits.
Did you see Sark's interview where he was like literally the color of the backdrop?
No.
Oh my god, dude! Like he is burnt orange. Like he is burnt orange. It's out of control. You're gonna have to do some independent research on that. It's wild. It's like, are you that into it, man? Like you took Tom Herman's piss of excellence calendar down and you decided to go all in and turn yourself like the bad piss color? Go for it.
Well, I'm done. I think I'm good.
All right. Yeah, we can end on Sark looking like urine. That's fine.
I think we're going to have some good discussions after this week of practice. I think we got another scrimmage coming up this week, so that'll be fun.
I don't care to talk about it, but did you see Stoops getting all pissy at Calipari for the whole like that maybe?
Sure did.
Once again,
I think Kentucky's going to be decent this year.
I do too, but like, look, I get where Stoops
decent
is.
7 wins.
I get where Stoops is at. And it's like, I've done a good job of like building this program, but it's like, also, bro, you're still Kentucky. Like, let's wait and feel these things out and see what happens. But it's just always good whenever like there's some drama in the SEC. And then
Calipari needs to like,
tone it down.
Well, he needs to respect his companions. I mean, like,
do you imagine?
Even though it's very true, but like,
Can you imagine if Will Wade would have said that about Ed and be like, "This fucking program gets everything." The Pete Mac needs.
But that would be like Ed talking shit about the basketball program, I think.
Right.
Which Ed has 1,000% done behind closed doors. I can promise you that.
Right. Or like Saban calling out the basketball team. It's like, guys, like, don't.
Yeah, but then of course you get like some Twitter chatter of like coaches. I saw for one, Harsin and Bruce Pearl were like hugging on a golf course. It was like family, come for family. And it just, I don't know. I love that shit.
Harsin needs to chill out with this content. He's everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. You got a little spicy on the mic at media days and you got a little love. People like, oh yeah, I respect that. Like, don't push it, buddy. Like, let's fucking reel it in.
We still remember you were screwing an intern.
Yeah, like because we didn't exactly find the proof, we're all pretty sure you were boning that hottie, okay?
Yeah.
We're all pretty sure
we're not
you were doing a little dirty, all right? And you better win 9 games, all right? I don't know. I got nothing else. Guys, like and subscribe on Twitter, all that fun stuff. For those still with us, we appreciate it. Tell your friends. Literally tell your friends. Willie Z got it done. +2 in the playoff. That has to feel weird.
I missed it. I need to go rewatch it.
Dude,
I didn't watch much.
The ball bouncing on the wall was insane.
I heard
Yeah, he
Cam
ended up.
Smith is like starting a riot right now. Like the players are holding a meeting.
Yeah, he already backed out of the tournament this week. He said his hip
Yeah,
hurt,
his hip
but it was
hurts.
probably from Saudi cash. That's why his
But
hip hurt.
they are now having a
Right.
players meeting, and Tiger Woods is flying in to discuss how they're going to process all this shit moving forward.
You know how sick it is? That's like Tiger's flying in on the jet. Like, what an alpha. What an
But
alpha.
also, absolutely what an alpha, but also like Cam Smith is a big deal. Like
Yeah.
he was the last domino to like really like shit's gonna have to move now. This dude just won the Open, and now he's gonna be leaving after he cashed because he's gonna win the FedEx and then he's gonna bounce. Like that's crazy.
It's incredible. He's like, yeah, I had a nice like $250 million summer.
Right.
Dude, I saw some rumors that your boy Cameron Young is gonna jump.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
I saw that too.
That's the first time. That's the first time like a big flag. I was like, wait a second. Like Cam Young, you're way more incentivized to just clean up the PGA Tour for the next 20 years than to like take a risk on live. Like some of these other guys totally get take your money, whatever. Brooks doesn't never need to win another tournament again to be rich as fuck. But like Cam Young, it just felt like, man, like you could do some damage out here.
Dude,
like look at the long term.
Dude, what has to be happening is these guys are like, this is a grind. You're like, yeah, it's fun. We think of golf as fun, but
100%.
some of these guys are like, man, this is a grind. Look at where Tiger is. I mean, he's been in accidents and a bunch of things, but it's like, they're like, I like my health. I can go make $20 million, call it quits, and live like whatever it's going to be. I can be the backup quarterback.
Yeah. They need to adjust it. Also, Zalatoris has earned over $10 million without winning a tournament until now.
It's wild, huh?
That's crazy.
There's so much money out there. So much money out there.
It's all on
Straka
YouTube.
was close. Sepp Straka, that's a guy that he's been playing very well.
Yeah, he's a good field player.
Literal grinders. Like look up his career earnings, and I bet it'll blow your mind.
Well, before he won whatever he won, he was right where Zalatoris is in like a ridiculous amount of career earnings with no wins.
All right, guys.
Tell your friends. That's all I
out.
ask. Tell your friends.
Over and out.